All right, students, so we're going to begin with our next lesson on the Shimerdas. And our objectives today is that we are going to be able to identify personification in a text and explain the image that the personification creates in our mind. Now, remember, personification is a type of figurative language that describes what's going on to help the readers visualize, to help the readers get pictures. That's what the whole purpose of figurative language is. So today we're going to be focusing on personification. I want you to pay attention to the text because it's going to help us unlock information. Now, remember, a metaphor is when we compare two different things by saying one thing is like the other. So personification is a metaphor, actually, where we compare human characteristics or traits to a non-human object. So personification is actually a metaphor. You can think about it. We're comparing something that's not human and saying how it's like humans, which sounds kind of crazy. So let's look at some examples. We use personification to give the reader an image that will help them visualize the scene that they are reading. So we have this sentence. I want you to listen to it. Lightning danced in the sky. So that's an example of personification. Lightning is not human and it can't dance. But the sentence, it helps us visualize how the lightning looked as it flashed across the sky. It wasn't a straight line down, but it was like swerving and swaying. Another example of personification is the plants were begging for water. Can plants actually beg? Do they get down on their hands and knees and say, please, please give me water? No. So this tells me that the plants, they're dry and they need water. So let's look through and see if we can find some examples of personification. We're going to go to paragraph 9. And I'm going to bring my chart on down so we can fill it out together. So we're going to focus on this paragraph over here, paragraph 9. All about me, giant grasshoppers, twice as big as any has ever seen, were doing acrobatic feats among the dried vines. So that's a sentence with personification, actually. So I'm going to put that for my sentence right here. All about me, giant grasshoppers, twice as big as any I had ever seen, were doing acrobatic feats among the dried branch vines. Now, remember, grasshoppers, they're plants. I'm sorry, they're not plants, they're animals. They don't actually go to the circus and perform these amazing trapeze feats like we see in Bug's Life. So we're going to say these grasshoppers, they're like humans because they're like these circus performers. So my personification section, what I'm going to fill in is what they're doing, how we're describing them like people. So we have this for ours. Let me drag this over. The grasshoppers are doing acrobatic feats. That's our personification that's going on right there. And let's make it a little bigger for us. And then this last part is the whole purpose of personification is what's that image that it's trying to create? What's this trying to get me to visualize in my brain about these grasshoppers? Well, it's showing me that those grasshoppers are jumping up and down. And now we can add some more description to that, doing acrobatic feats. Maybe they're twisting and turning or jumping different directions. But he's really trying to get that image of they're dancing all over. They're jumping around. They're not staying in one spot. So that's that image is trying to create. So let's see if there's another one in paragraph 9 that we can find as well. Something that describes an animal or a plant as something human. So let's keep going. The gophers scurried up and down the plowed ground. Well, gophers can scurry. That's just how they're moving. So there's no personification there. So let's try this next sentence. There, in the sheltered draw bottom, the wind did not blow very hard, but I could hear its humming tune up on that level, and I could see the tall grasses wave. Oh, that's perfect. Did you notice some personification there? Because I did. I could see some tall grasses wave. And what else? We have the wind was singing its humming tune. So we have a couple personifications here. And since they're so close together, I'm going to put them both in this section right here. There in the shelter draw bottom, the wind did not blow very hard, but I could hear its humming tune, so I'm going to put that here. And then since I copied it, I'm going to put those quotation marks again. Just like I copied up here, straight from the text, I put those quotation marks so the reader knows that I copied it. And I'm going to do this other thing. This isn't a 4th grade standard, but it just is going to clarify. It says, but I could hear it. Since this sentence doesn't tell me what the it is, I use these things called brackets to just let them know what that it is. I could hear wind singing. Now, what is our personification? What is it that it's trying to visualize? What's that picture? Well, we have the wind singing its humming tune. That's one of them. And there's that second one. Do you remember what it was? That second one was the grass was waving. So now, what's this image that is trying to create for me? Well, the image is that the sound of wind is whistling through the leaves. That's one of them. Because it's not actually singing. It's not doing a rap. But it's trying to get that idea that it's whistling. And even whistling is a personification. But it's trying to get that sound that we're trying to get in our heads of the wind going through leaves. And then when it's saying the grass was waving, of course it doesn't sprout hands, but it's just showing me that it's blowing in the wind, that it's moving or swaying back and forth. So that's how we identify personification in text. Now, I want you to think about this is, how can we personify a river? What do people do that we could say a river does? Well, personification for a river, we could say that it dances, if we want to, as it trickles along the banks. Now, personification may be hard for some of you. It may be easy for some of you, but you're just giving human traits or describing something that's not human as being human-like. You could say, as a kite gets stuck in a tree, oh, the tree snatched the kite as it tried to drift on by. Now, the tree doesn't actually reach out and grab it, but that's personification as well. So again, you're just trying to think, how can we describe something that's not a human as being like a human? Excellent job, guys.